second, but you don't want to leave them on the table.
Got it, okay.
So either keep them off.
It's 6:30, and we will call this meeting to order. Paulette.
Elthon.
Here.
Nystrom. Here. Neerum.
Here.
Teben.
Here.
Woods.
On the agenda is the consideration of agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda? Is there a motion?
Move to approve the agenda as presented.
Is there a second? Second. Been moved and seconded to approve the agenda as submitted. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no? The ayes have it. So good evening, and thank you for being here tonight. On behalf of the Boone Community District Board of Directors, I want to welcome all of you. We appreciate your engagement in this important conversation about our district's finances and our future. As many of you know, our budget review is an ongoing process. What we are discussing now represents phase 2 of necessary budget reductions to avoid continued deficit spending. Last year, during phase 1 of the process, we made approximately $350,000 in budget reductions. Phase 2 continues that work. And as previously shared with staff, this is a multi-year process. These are not decisions the board takes lightly. They are difficult and at times painful, but they are made with the goal of protecting the district's long-term financial health and our ability to serve students responsibly. I know a lot of people here are here tonight to support a specific teacher, staff member, or program, and you're absolutely invited to and welcome to speak about anything you wish. I do just want to make sure the public knows before we start this meeting that any action the board may take tonight on next year's budget is going to be about numbers and total FTEs, and it will not be about specific people. That is not the role of the board at this meeting. If future cuts or reductions are necessary as a result of the board's actions tonight in any programs or personnel, those recommendations will come later from the administration individually, and a process will then be followed to deal with these recommendations that align with either board policy or Iowa law, depending on the nature of the reductions being recommended. Before we move to public comment, I would like to briefly review the guidelines for speaking this evening. Board policy provides for 30 minutes of public comment at each regular meeting. However, due to the level of interest in tonight's topic, the board has extended public comment to 60 minutes. We will conclude at that time so that we can proceed with the board's work. Each speaker will have 3 minutes. When your time has concluded, you will be asked to sit down. As with all public comments at board meetings, board members do not respond to comments during this portion of the agenda. Please understand we have received far more requests to speak than for the time allotted. We respectfully ask that tonight's process remain courteous and constructive. While we may not all agree, we value hearing from our community and are committed to respectful listening of perspectives. Thank you for your continued care and concern for Boone schools.
All right, the first speaker on the list is Lois Downs.
Now? I'm short. I've never been in the podium this tall. Oh, okay. My name is Lois Downs. I've been a music educator for over 40 years, 23 of those here in Boone. I have witnessed many budget cuts and lucrative years over that time. There isn't a subject taught that music, art, and PE doesn't touch. We taught all students. I reached thousands of lives in those years. No one was left on the bench. Music, art, and PE are essential for mental health, productivity, and most importantly, keeping our kids in school. Start with the hardest decisions, the highest expenses and salaries, not programs. Spend what you have, not what you want. We have had a free rein for so long that it is hard to bring it back to reality. Well, guess what? Reality has set in. When we should have tightened our purse strings, we spent instead. And our enrollment was declining, and we all saw that coming. Why did we need more assistant administrators? I know many have answers for all of this, but the fact remains, can you look in the mirror and honestly say you have made the right decision? Consider the impact of cutting an entire orchestra program of 100+ years has on our community and, more importantly, on our students. Please keep your vision fixed on the outcome in years to come. Think about how much investment you have spent on these teachers, their lives, and their programs. And please think of the investment in our students, which is why we are all here. We have not been good stewards of our funds, and did we not pay attention to how it was being spent? This is not a surprise, but again, vision. Pay attention and ask those of us who have been in education. We have seen programs come and go, but the arts have always maintained their worth. Meanwhile, fine arts teachers, join the Iowa Alliance for the Arts and go to the Capitol on January 21st. Make all of us be held accountable. And from Paul Solomon, class of 2015, Lieutenant Submarine Officer in the U.S. Navy, a strong music program cultivates skills far beyond a simple love of music. My daily involvement in musical groups of BHS was crucial for development, my work ethic, teamwork, and leadership. The BHS music program, more than any other class or sport, honed my ability to lead small teams, practice until perfection, and support others' moments in the spotlight. At the U.S. Naval Academy and on nuclear subs, I consistently saw how my collaborative and compassionate leadership stemmed from my experiences as a musician at Boone High. My music education shaped me into the nuclear engineer and successful naval officer I am today. Reducing the music program won't just diminish the joy in the Boone community. It will mean BHS graduates are weaker engineers, team members, and leaders. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Davina Stevens. Davina Stevens, is she here? All right. Following that, we have Giovanni Nichols.
Forgive me for I'm short. My name is Gia. I haven't been at Boone High for that long, but I have been in drama for a while now. And Miss Lee, she's taught me a lot. And drama and music and PE, those are all things that I hold dearest to me. Music, of course, because I have done a lot of music and drawings. PE, I've made a lot of friends, and it's just, I don't want to see it go, because I feel like a lot of people, a lot of students, a lot of kids could benefit from it. I also think that people in general, I just think they would benefit from it, especially, get the words, but I just hope that the cuts that you guys make, I wish that they wouldn't have to come down to this, because I know a lot of people would just not, we don't want this. Thank you.
Thank you. Harper Boyd.
Hello, Hello, my name is Harper Boyd, and I'm a junior at Boone High School. I've been recently notified about the budget cuts in the Boone Community School District. The arts have always been super important to me. Throughout middle school and now into my high school career, I have participated in choir and taken many art classes. Choir has helped shape me into who I am today, not just by singing itself, but by the teachers. Hannah Thiel is the current middle school choir teacher. During 7th and 8th grade, she became my inspiration. She motivated me, pushed me past my limits, and created a better version of myself that I didn't know existed. You may think that is silly or untrue, but I couldn't have asked for a better person in my life during this time. Her love and dedication to her students and her passion for music was what made me love her so much. She worked hard to create talent in her choirs and was very successful. She led me to continue my passion for music and helped guide me in the best way she could. Hannah Thiel is a great person and deserves to follow her dream of being a choir teacher. I would like to bring up the topic of our music department, how cutting the middle school choir teacher and the orchestra department would affect our entire student body. In the high school music department alone, we have over 150 students involved in choir, band, and orchestra. Thinking about the Boone Community School District, removing classes and teachers would deeply hurt many kids. I understand the budget may be tight, but cutting teachers and courses may not solve the issue. There are many other ways that we can start to save money without dismembering our artistic community. Thank you for your time, and I hope you take this into consideration.
Thank you. Kyle Peter is next on the list.
Hello, my name is Kyle Peter. I'm a Boone High graduate. I'm a public school teacher, and I'm a father to a future Toreador. I was heavily involved in the arts when I was in school. Boone's program fostered a lifelong love of the arts, not just in me, but in thousands of others. Not only has it produced a love of the arts, but it's produced careers such as Emma Hyatt, a Boone High grad and a music educator, Abby Lumley, and obviously Chris Truckenmiller. I find it deeply troubling that Boone is forced to gut its arts program with this decision. This decision will put an immense strain on people who are asked to leave and an immense strain on those who it is leaving behind. Music teachers are some of the hardest working people that we have, working countless unpaid hours in order to meet the diverse needs of students. Now we are asking them to do another job of another person filling a role of a middle school choir director. This will make it more difficult for the program to continue to grow. Finally, this decision will impact students. They will lose opportunities in band and choir due to overworked teachers simply not having enough time in the day. I've been told that there are currently around 50 students in the high school orchestra. That is decades of experience that those kids will receive nothing for. Cutting this program tells them that, and the middle school orchestra students, that hard work and dedication counts for less than dollars and cents. I would like to encourage everyone in the room and everyone listening to call your state representatives, Senator Jesse Green and Representative Chad Bain. They have the power to help this and fund this. This is not only a result of poor spending by the district, but this is also a product of the state not increasing public school budgets to match inflation for the last 14 years. Senator Green, Representative Bain, listen to your constituents in this room and fund public education at the level kids need to be successful. It is time for the two of you to be the public servants you expect teachers to be. Education is not a partisan issue. Stop pointing fingers and do your job.
Thank you. Next on the list is Elijah Steins.
Hello, my name is Elijah Steins. The first thing I'd like to say is thank you to the members of the Boone Board of Education. Your volunteers and community servants tasked with an impossible job and do not receive enough recognition. I appreciate you. I also want to thank Superintendent Treppa for her steadfast guidance, optimism, and leadership through some very difficult situations since being chosen to lead the district. The state of Iowa has consistently refused to increase the amount of state supplemental aid to all school districts to match inflation over the past 9+ years. This is the principal source of funding for school districts. There's a funding gap of $500 million between what all districts are receiving annually and what they should be receiving if allocations had kept pace with inflation. The state is simultaneously allocating $350 million to private school vouchers with no oversight or accountability, while public schools have to abide by state mandates, red tape, reporting requirements, and take every single student regardless of their needs or status. The state is facing a budget deficit of $1.3 billion for the next fiscal year, and their intention is to give no increase to state supplemental aid. This is due to the massive income tax giveaway to the wealthy by enacting a flat tax. School districts across the state are suffering, and they will continue to suffer further if corrective action is not taken at its source. This suffering will increase exponentially if the state enacts its will and slashes property taxes. The services from schools, cities, counties, community colleges, and hospitals that you all take for granted will be harmed, some of them irrevocably harmed. This is what's known as the tragedy of the commons. Every individual wants a tax break, but no one discusses the costs of these tax breaks to the services that they rely upon. This is a deliberate case of manufactured scarcity by the state of Iowa inflicted on your children and their future, all in service of giving the wealthy massive tax breaks while you might get a couple of bucks. Your kids miss out on life-changing opportunities. This also causes infighting and blame to be cast on people who have no control over the situation and jockeying for the artificially low resources. That's what we're seeing tonight. The only way out of this situation is for all of us to come out of the collective honeypot of tax cut after tax cut and really seeing what we are giving up for the future. Return to a progressive tax where the wealthy contribute what they can to the proper function of society, and stop the wasteful voucher program. Only the legislature can do this, not the school board, not the school administration. We all need to wake up and understand the root cause of this issue and insist that it's corrected before further damage is done. Thank you.
Thank you. Cooper Bennett. Is Cooper Bennett here? Okay. The next person, I'm probably not going to say this right, is it Callie Salter? I'm sorry if I didn't pronounce that right.
You know what? It's okay, because that's not what matters today. My name is Kylie Salter, and for those of you who have previously attended music events, probably recognize myself or my sisters. We are able to create a generational connection and bond by other musicians supporting the younger and continuously growing the program. Theater isn't just reading some lines and playing a character. You are putting yourself in the most vulnerable state. I was able to become confident in myself, not just on stage, but in reality. I became more comfortable sticking up for myself, communicating in public, and speaking to strangers. Theater and music are exposure therapy for many standoffish students. Why do the athletic kids always get catered to, and children with music talent are always pushed under the rug? Just because you don't understand music and the power it holds doesn't mean its weight isn't heavy. Music touches hearts and it changes perspectives. Theater isn't the only way. Choir, orchestra, and band bring students together as a whole. You are taught to communicate through song and to listen to the person next to you. Your job is to blend, to create, and to make something extraordinary. My talents were in my voice, and I ask that you don't take away from the younger generations. Society already normalizes a lack of general communication skills and has become so antisocial. Anxiety rates have become astronomical. 1 in 8 children, or 12 to 13%, have diagnosed anxiety according to the CDC.gov. That is only the children who can acknowledge something is wrong and have the resources and support system to get help. Society yearns for human connection. Music, theater, whether you're singing, acting, playing an instrument, or giving a speech, you are tackling anxiety. You are putting yourself out there. Children in theater and music problems, already struggle and may not feel connected with peers and struggle to fit in. You want to take away programs that finally give them the opportunity to be connected. Why take away something that pushes students to communicate, to be brave, and to put themselves out there? It's truly disappointing that once again, the kids who feel different may have to feel different without a purpose. I felt different. I felt like I was a soulless person walking and conforming as expected of me. These teachers, Mrs. Earl, Miss Lee, and even Mrs. Cunningham, changed my life. Each one can tell you how much I've grown as a person from their programs. They helped me become a brave and strong independent woman, and I can never thank Boone High School's music department enough for what they've done for me. Most people don't experience losing a parent young, and in a sense I did, and the only people there for me were Mrs. Earl and Miss Lee. Do not strip these kids from their chance to shine. We aren't all athletes, but we are performers, and we give to the community with our programs. The theater program constantly gave to our community. These women and men do more than just teach, they connect. Take these programs and positions away, and you will be sorely mistaken. I promise you kids will be less successful in school without these programs. You are going to be saving kids emotionally, mentally, by keeping these available. Just because their talents are different than yours doesn't make them less important. Let them shine too in the way that they do. Thank you.
Thank you. Kara Stone.
Hi, I'm Kara Stone, a Boone alum, speaking in favor of retaining the orchestra program and the choir position. I was heavily involved in orchestra and choir classes. I play in the symphony in Ames. I've taught summer music lessons here in Boone, and have provided Boone orchestra students with music camp scholarships in recent years. I would not be the person I am without the educational, cultural, and character-building experiences I had in the Boone Orchestra and Choir. I wrote this in February 2019. I just got home from a wonderful 512 orchestra concert celebrating 100 years of strings in Boone. What impressed me the most was the community's involvement and investment in the program. What a privilege it was to grow up in a place that was and continues to be so supportive of the arts. The entire gymnasium, bleachers, and floor chairs were full of parents, grandparents, siblings, friends, BHS alumni, and just people who appreciate the investment a school district makes in kids involved with music. A few of the comments from other BHS alumni: yes, it was awesome. Could you believe how quiet the audience was? 100% respectful and supportive. So awesome to see alumni return to show their support of the program as well. Another said, this is awesome. Way to go, Boone Schools. I'm proud to say I graduated from here. The Boone School Administration has supported the orchestra through the Great Depression in the 1930s, the 2008 Great Recession, and most recently the pandemic. But this isn't about me or the past. I know the landscape has changed a lot, so I want to get to the we and the potential for Boone moving forward. Don't make cuts to the orchestra program and the choir program. These are the classes that make students want to come to school. Cutting the orchestra program will make a Boone a place that was once a good place to have been from. Keep the orchestra program, fully staff the choir program, make decisions to keep Boone a place where families want to stay and where families want to move to and call home because of the unique and impactful educational opportunities like Boone's well-staffed and supported orchestra and choir programs. If the orchestra is cut, Boone will lose per pupil dollars to open enrollment in Ames. Boone stands out in Iowa as a rural district that offers more than our peers. But it's not just about keeping up with or outperforming our neighbors. It's about the benefits students and the community get from being involved in orchestra and choir. BCSD core values are exemplified in the orchestra and choir program every day, in every rehearsal and every performance. Mostly integrity, but also collaboration, compassion, enthusiasm, and growth. The music students of today are the people you want to grow up to be your community leaders. Rich Montanaro, viola and choir, running his own realty business and selling homes here and all over central Iowa. Before that, he was serving our country. Gina Taylor, violin and choir, works for Social Security Administration and is raising her family here in Boone. Anna Sundstrom, career planner at Youth and Shelter Services, helping young adults reach their career goals. I'll say it again, don't make the cuts that will make Boone a place that was once a good place to have been from. Keep the orchestra program, fully staff the choir program, and make decisions to keep Boone a place where families want to stay, or where families want to move to and call home because of the unique and impactful educational opportunities like Boone's well-staffed and supported orchestra and choir. Thank you.
Thank you. Sue Gradaville.
These are for when you're burning the midnight oil, and they have a little something to do with my words. My name is Sue Gradaville, and I spent 26 years as the middle school counselor here in Boone. Board members, thank you for serving us and for allowing us to share our concerns this evening. I am truly saddened that our district has hit this point once again in my career where tough decisions have to be made that will affect so many students. I can't imagine our high school without a fully functioning state-of-the-art Boone TV, which was one of the first in the state, or without a comprehensive PE health program, or without our high-quality music program. These cuts will, as was mentioned, only give families more reason to open enroll or to avoid moving to Boone in the first place. My focus this evening is on what may happen to our middle school. Many years ago, many years ago, when we were transitioning to the middle school concept, Dr. Schutte sent another teacher and me to a conference in Colorado called Magic in the Middle. It was far and above the best educational conference I have ever attended. There truly is magic in the middle school, just like in the middle of the Oreo cookie. The last time our district had to make a huge cut, it came at the expense of the middle school. We lost an entire team of teachers across the board. I remember looking out at our staff and our students on the last day of school at our awards assembly, tears in many eyes, thinking, we will never be the same. And I don't think so. I don't think we are. We used to be the middle school people came to visit, to see our teaming, our structure, our programs, all of the things we did to focus on our students. There is magic in the middle school, in the music of middle schoolers. Their squeaks, their voices that go all over the place. It's magic. There is magic in their eyes when they finish that perfect drawing or that perfect pan of Scotcheroos in FCS class, or when they finally finish running the mile in PE. Most importantly, however, the magic is in the relationships they build with their teachers. Teachers who are there for them all day, every day. Teachers they can visit before school, during lunch, after school, any time they need that caring adult that they trust. I started my teaching career in Newton as a business education teacher, and I got to go between buildings. It was not fun. I felt like a rat in a maze trying to get somewhere. Some days I didn't even know which way I was going. I certainly didn't have time to build relationships, not with my students, not with their parents, not with staff members. Everyone suffered. I know our state needs to find a better way to fund public education, and I have reached out to those politicians. Until then, you don't want to take away the magic in the middle any more than you would like to eat that Oreo cookie without the middle filling. Thank you for your time, for your service, and good luck.
Thank you. Joshua Jacobson.
Good evening, and thank you for your service on the board. My son Isaac is in 7th grade and attends band at the middle school. My daughter's in 4th grade, and she's currently taking lessons from Mr. Swenson on violin and looking forward to orchestra. When I saw this come out, I looked at the portrait of a graduate. There's 6 purpose statements. This is in compromise. We're removing our opportunities to learn these skills, specifically resiliency. Resiliency is rarely learned in core school courses. It's in programs like fine arts where there isn't a single correct or wrong answer, and where continuously improving on a skill is encouraged, where persistence and patience are taught to learn new skills over weeks and months, in preparation to show results at 1 or 2 concerts or public demonstrations a semester. You see, in these programs and in music, you learn how to improvise and adapt to the music and mistakes you may be making in a performance. Comparatively, the core classes are linear and rigid, where students are graded and progress whether they understand the content or not. For those who struggle and can't find any other way to achieve the outcome desired by the class subject, they often fall behind. These programs are a part of the person's identity. Like many students, I struggled in classes, but found myself in fine arts and in adulthood, became a recognized speaker in my profession, and earned international awards for my contribution to the industry. And none of that would have been possible without my experiences improvising and adaptability within middle and high school music programs. These programs helped me build the confidence to obtain a Bachelor of Science and enter a profession, and this success allowed me to contribute towards Boone's community by starting a local business that's been here for over a decade and made a difference in the community. The problem, as I understand it, is budget overruns, and budget income is largely influenced by student enrollment, which has knowingly declined. I'll share a quick example where 5 years ago, Sacred Heart cut the before and after school child care because of a budget. The result is we lost potential students, and we also lost a key feature that attracted students. It took a major effort to bring it back. And today, it thrives. But what's the difference? We found efficiencies. The business case in all of this is that if we take something away, it's much harder to get it back. Dual enrollment from homeschooled and private schools participating in these programs allowed this district to claim the student on state funding reports and receive a 10% of the funds, and additional from some of the private schools. Have you accounted for this loss of revenue where these students will no longer be dual enrolled? We know the middle school music department alone increased students from 100 enrolled in 2002 to 2013 school year to approximately 200 students today. Was there overspending in these departments? As I understand, the answer is no. We should be looking at where the problems are at. Specifically, where are you out of budget? I believe there's no transparency in understanding where our budget constraints are and what has been done to find efficiencies to address that before cutting programs and teachers. I urge us to be voted not in favor due to diligent favor until diligent effort has been made to make a competent decision. And in closing, I look no further than the portrait of the graduate. When you vote to end programs that have proven successful, to support the portrait of the graduate, you're allowing the portrait to be changed. Cutting programs without understanding where the losses are occurring and focusing on that potential to make the appropriate changes for a previously agreed upon budget does not show resilience. It demonstrates lack of care.
Thank you. Anna Peebler?
Hi. Oh, sorry. My name is Anna Peebler, and I am a sophomore. Sophomore at Boone High School. Hold on, my brain's not working. I am involved in theater, band, choir, speech, obviously PE, and all of these impact everyone's mental health. So, I hear a lot at school that people are talking about their mental health and how greatly music has impacted them. I have been in theater for 3 years, which I know isn't a long time, but to me it is. It's completely life-changing. I've got lots of teachers that support me and support all of my peers. Band, Christopher Truckenmiller. I don't know why I just said his first name. But he has impacted my life so much. When he would come to band in middle school, I absolutely loved that. I got a whole new teacher, not saying that Mrs. Kundal is bad, because I absolutely loved her too. But it was just easier to have two different teaching perspectives for a student that's trying to learn a new instrument. And then Miss Lee, I'm personally not involved in orchestra, but I know a lot of people that are, and she's involved in speech and also in theater, and that is, again, life-changing. She is a wonderful educator, and I know that it's not your guys' fault that we need to do these budget cuts. And you guys aren't personally cutting people, but it's something that you need to do, and I understand that. I also hear a lot of people talking about, oh, well, we don't need the smart boards, but that's a completely different, money section, as I was brought to attention by my principal. And it's just a lot of things that go into it. Choir, Miss Earl, wonderful teacher. I'm saying that about everyone. But truly, she's wonderful. And she is so greatly impacted by what is going on, as well as Miss Lee and Mr. Truckenmiller. And my PE teachers, wonderful people. They deserve their jobs, and I know how scary it is. I mean, I don't know, but a lot of people know how scary it is for them to lose jobs. And it's scary for us because we're like, hey, my favorite teacher is out of here. But, sorry, that was really loud. It's just a lot of things that go into it, so no one's blaming you guys for it, and it's, yeah, I don't know. Thanks.
Thank you. Adam Schultz.
Thank you. I suffer from the opposite problem of most of the folks up here tonight. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to the board and to the community in general. There is a real danger in seeing the men and women of the board as the villains in this piece. However, that is both a mirage and a pitfall. The villain of this piece is the falling funding levels from both state and federal bodies. The problem is inflation in the face of a shrinking aid, which has created a funding gap so large that we find ourselves in this room today. The district is bleeding out. However, the tourniquets should not be applied to our students' necks. Tonight, we find ourselves forced to consider the unthinkable, destroying a 100-year-old orchestra program, itself a part of a robust and valuable arts program. I do not see non-educator administration positions ready to be amputated. I do not see reductions to administrator compensation under consideration. I do not see a sense of stewardship extending beyond the simple answer, the false answer, of removing a department not federally mandated, an arts program that seemingly only impacts a handful of the artsy kids. My son comes home once or twice a week with excitement overflowing to tell me that he has earned another orchestra belt. He does not come home anxious to tell me about a new administrator, an indoor pool he will never be allowed to use, or a weight room that caters to a tiny percentage of the students in proportion to those that strive and achieve in our arts programs. And when I think about my days at school, now far more days than I'd like, I do not wax nostalgic about the hours spent in standardized testing. I remember the joy of working diligently as a team to listen to one another and learn a challenging musical composition. I remember plays, marching band, musicals, and state honor competitions. In short, when all is said and done in this room tonight, it is essential that the board demonstrates to your district, your community, and most of all these students, that every effort has been made to prevent what is about to happen. Thank you.
Thank you. April Birch.
Okay, hi, my name is April Birch. Thank you to the Board of Education for hosting this opportunity to hear our community. I graduated from Boone High School in 1992. I have 5 children and 3 grandchildren who have been or will be Boone students. I owe a tremendous deal of my success in life and my children's successes in school and our abilities to navigate the complexities of life to the BHS music and arts programs, as well as the dedication of music teachers who, like the orchestra director, Anna Lee, have also been devoted leaders of our theater programs alongside her day job. Because of Boone's incredible arts programs, my child has the rare and precious opportunity to compete at the International Thespian Festival in Indiana this summer. Once upon a time, the Iowa legislature, community leaders, and the Boone Community School District Board of Education were all aligned on the importance of music education for the development of well-rounded human beings, and to give those kids who weren't athletic the opportunity to grow and be challenged in a team environment. These days, our Iowa legislature is busy promising tax cuts and spending decreases, but they leave the dirty work of destroying a century-long orchestra program to local leaders who are left holding the bag while telling everyone that the local leaders are the ones who don't know how to budget. It seems too easy for our Iowa State Senator and Representative to promise tax cuts and school choice vouchers at the Capitol without caring how these cuts to public education affect the future of children in our district. I urge everyone here to vote for state legislators who won't try to wash their hands of responsibility for the gutting of beloved and essential programs that keep families here and draw new families to our community. This year, the cuts proposed include the entire orchestra program, a dedicated middle school choir teacher, family and consumer sciences, PE, and business. Next year, what will we lose to satisfy this insatiable appetite for private school vouchers and tax cuts at the Capitol? Please send the Iowa Republican agenda and those who keep voting to implement it to the curb on behalf of our children's futures.
Thank you. Colin Holman. Colin Holman. Okay. Thomas Gonzalez Torres.
All right, thank you to the board, first of all. I teach aerospace engineering at Iowa State. Each department in the engineering course has an Industrial Advisory Committee, or the IAC. The IAC is staffed with ISU alumni in higher positions within industry, and the intent is for the IAC to give feedback to the departments to see how those departments should adjust their curriculum to better prepare students for the real world. Without fail, every single time they meet, the IAC provides feedback that employers want more emphasis on the students being able to work in teams, as well as the ability to communicate clearly and confidently in front of others. The benefits of students participating in athletics are frequently mentioned and are very real. But it's not only about the classes that focus on athletics, like physical education, but about the extra opportunities that athletic activities provide that really gives the students those additional opportunities to develop teamwork, confidence, and self-worth. However, many students do not have a passion for being an athlete. Yet those students still need to be given those same opportunities to develop those same skills. Just like with PE and athletics, it's not only about the music courses, but those extra opportunities like chorale, speech, and the theater. The students have presented on that same stage that you're sitting on tonight, and this is where they were able to develop those same skills of teamwork, confidence, self-worth, and additionally, vocal projection and getting the confidence to speak in front of others. Students everywhere are consumed with communication through texting. It is more important now than ever to intentionally develop the students' communication skills that they will need to be successful in nearly every career field. I understand that the school district is facing budget challenges, and I recognize that some reductions may be unavoidable. My concern is not simply that cuts are being made, but where the concentration of those cuts is occurring. 50% of the proposed teaching reductions disproportionately affect the group of students who are passionate about music, speech, and the theater. These cuts extend beyond individual positions and have a cascading effect that will impact and potentially eliminate those critical opportunities beyond the classroom. I request that you consider modifications to the proposed cuts such that these cuts have a more distributed approach where all students are impacted only a little versus the proposed cuts, which will have severe impacts on a specialized large group of students. Thank you.
Thank you. Jeff Anderson.
Thank you. My name is Jeff Anderson, the father of a theater daughter who's now a theater woman. I served on the Boone School Board from 1992 until 2015, so far back that I served with Mr. Niram's father. And I was also president of the State School Board Association from 2013 to 2015. So I know how difficult the type of decisions you are facing can be. And I know that policy decisions at the state and federal level impact how kids are educated. While we say we value local control of education, funding for Iowa's public schools is primarily determined by the Iowa Foundation school formula and the amount of state supplemental aid the legislature appropriates. The school foundation formula determines how much funding districts receive and what mix of local property taxes and state aid is required to generate it. While the formula provides equitable funding for each student, it results in differing property tax rates between districts. And so districts like Boone that have a large number of students and a relatively small property tax base have higher school levy rates than districts like United that have a very high property valuation per student. Despite what Iowans for tax relief may say, district levy rates that are not an indication of how well schools are managed. And school boards cannot just raise property taxes that they feel as funding is inadequate. The claim that having to consider cuts is an indication of poor budgeting and fiscal mismanagement on the part of the Boone School District is not accurate, and neither is the claim that decisions at the state level are having no impact on staffing decisions that schools across the state are having to make. The Iowa legislature largely determines how much funding the state, cities, counties, and schools receive, so decisions made at the State House are particularly important. A few years ago, during an earlier attempt to lower property taxes and narrow differences between the school district levy rates, the legislature made changes to the funding formula that shifted a larger share of the cost of school funding from local property taxes to state aid, which is primarily funded with state income tax revenue. However, after taking on this significant additional expense, the legislature enacted deep cuts in income tax rates that resulted in a significant reduction in state revenues, and it approved new spending on vouchers for private school students that is now costing Iowa taxpayers over $300 million a year. As a direct result of these decisions, the state is now faced with a $1.3 billion annual budget deficit, which according to State Budget Director Paulson is all going according to plan. While it is true that SSA has gone up, it has done so at levels below the rate of inflation for the past decade, and the math is straightforward. As long as SSA continues to be set below the rate of inflation, school districts across the state, like Cedar Rapids, which is cutting $11 million and closing 7 schools, will need to make cuts. The only question will be how large and at what cost to students. I appreciate your willingness to engage with the community regarding the budget challenge you are facing, but my fear is that they are only going to get worse, requiring more painful choices. The future of our community and kids is at stake, so especially as additional tax cuts are being considered, I would ask our state representatives, who I know we're going to try to be here tonight, to listen and to work with all our local officials before making their decisions. Thank you.
Thank you. Brittany Brummett? Sorry, I slaughtered that name.
That's exactly how you say my name, by the way. Good job. My name is Brittany Brummett. I'm a mother of 6, and 3 of my children attend Boone schools. My family moved here in November from Mesa, Arizona. After years of searching for a safe, more affordable place to live, we chose Boone, and I absolutely love it here. The men and women in the school system have held my family in a way that humbles me, and I'm deeply grateful. A week ago Sunday, while savoring the last moments of family time before Monday, I came across a post on the Boone community page that knocked the wind out of me, and it led me to this moment. When I moved to Iowa, my conservationist heart thought that I'd be fighting for topsoil, clean water, prairie restoration. Advocating for teacher dignity and music education was not on my bingo card. As I tried to manage the rage and grief that kept me up many nights, I struggled to find my angle for these 3 minutes. We now live in a world where facts don't change hearts. Statistics like schools with music programs having a graduation rate of 90% compared to the 73% that schools without, that doesn't open eyes anymore. We've divided ourselves into boxes so we can point fingers: white, brown, red, blue, elite, working class. And it's kept us stagnant, angry, and afraid. While we argue, our rights are being stripped away. We live in a world where individuals can accumulate incomprehensible wealth, yet we are here begging for what some call an extra. Viewing music and art as extra tells me that we've definitely lost our way. Here is my angle. We are all in this room because we share something. We want a better future for our children. We want beloved teachers to have stability, not live under a chopping block shaped by politics. It's becoming clear to me that nobody is coming to save us. The good news is we can save us. We will save us. That begins with vulnerability, the courage to admit that we do not have all the answers, to listen without armor, and to show up for one another anyway. I invite you to get creative, to find your grit, and to transmute your rage into love so we can take action together. We need to share our skills, hone our talents, be in each other's spaces, and it is time to organize, because it is not the fault of the people in front of us. This is bigger, but there are more of us than the ones who created this problem. I am not a leader, but I have more passion than I can contain, and I want to share that energy with this town. I want to spend my money here. I want my taxes better allocated, and I want us to actively obliterate fear. Again, no one is coming to save us, so let's get creative together. Music is the language of our humanity. Let's save these teachers' jobs. Let's preserve these invaluable teachings for our children. And please, let's stop fighting. Let's choose vulnerability and focus where our hearts overlap. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. I hope I didn't type this wrong. Cinderella? Oh, okay, sorry. Cinderella MLT. Okay, I'm sorry.
Hello,
Thank you for having me. My name is Miranda Thompson. I'm a class of 2000 graduate. I was an orchestra student, choir student. I currently have a daughter who is involved in the music program through choir, swing choir, as well as the drama program. Miss Lee is a wonderful asset to our school. With her teachings in the orchestra, as well as her involvement with the theater, speech programs, I've gotten to observe several students go on to statewide performances, not only in music, but in speech. Those are invaluable things for our school district. These programs teach confidence in many aspects of our professional lives. We have to go in front of employers and tell our experiences. In theater programs, they teach you how to get by on barely any budget, on how to build sets, as well as speak to the public. We have to go in front of employers for interviews, public speaking such as today. This is very valuable for our community. Cutting these programs will encourage families to leave the district. I mean, we're doing this at the time that open enrollment is coming. Unfortunately, it will also strip these students who have spent years working towards these goals of scholarship opportunities that lower income families cannot live without. Please consider this when you're making your decisions. Please try to find other ways to balance the budget and make these programs available to our students and make Boone a place where people want to come and live and put their children in schools and not take advantage of the school vouchers and open enrollment opportunities. I beg this of the board, and thank you again.
Thank you. Eldon Hutchison?
Good evening. My name is Eldon Hutchison. My wife and I have lived in Boone for 55, 56 years now, and we think we call it home, as well as this building we call home. I didn't come here tonight to speak to 7 people in front of me here. I came here tonight to speak to everybody behind me. So I'm going to apologize for turning my back on you folks, but you may be seeing the better side. I don't really want to reiterate some of the things that have already been said, but Boone School District is not in this thing alone. My guess is there are probably 200 to 250 school districts that are meeting or brainstorming to get this thing done. There's no decision that's going to be a right decision on this. We, in this district, we have been here before. We went through quite a budget cut, I think, in the maybe early 1980s that had to do with staff cuts, that had to do with cut this and that and whatever. It was not fun. In fact, my wife was involved in that. She was pink-slipped, but she happened to get back in late in the summer in a different discipline that she was qualified to teach. Very, very fortunate on that. I don't think anybody here tonight can sit here and put blame on any of the 7 people up in front of me here or anybody else. You know, our blame and the answer to this program is not going to come from this school district. It's going to come from that building down in Des Moines that's got a gold leaf dome on it, that people down there probably... I grew up on a farm and raised on a farm, and probably left that farm 70 years ago. We have legislatures down in the dome that are telling our school districts throughout the state how to teach, what to do, what to spend, and so forth. People that probably have not been standing in front of a classroom of students in 50 years. That would be like me telling Jeremy Gustafson, I grew up on a farm, so I'm going to tell you how to plant cover crops. You know, that isn't going to work. The answer lies downtown in Des Moines. That answer won't be given tonight. That answer probably won't be given this year. Des Moines, they're talking about many cuts. They're talking about maybe freezing property taxes for seniors. That's great. I appreciate that. But folks, we can't afford that. They're talking about maybe no income tax on certain retirement incomes. Great. I love that. But we can't afford that. We have to make sure that somehow that we contact and impress and force the legislature to do something that's right for a change. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we have time for one more speaker, so this will be our last. Mindy Hagan.
Hello, my name is Mindy Hagan, and instead of reading what I wrote, I'm going to read what my children wrote, because they were also signed up, but there's not enough time. So my son is Chase Hagan. He's a freshman at Boone High School. He wanted to share a story with you all. It says, I met Miss Teal in 6th grade chorus. She made chorus fun and encouraged me to stay enrolled in 7th and 8th grade. She encouraged me to try out for the musical in 7th grade, and I got the part of Cinderella's dad. Then in 8th grade, I got the part of student number 3 and everything you wanted to know about your teachers but were afraid to ask. She made the play, musical, and chorus so much fun that I chose chorus over an engineering class my freshman year, because FCS is something that doesn't work in your schedule as freshman year. I also tried out for the SpongeBob musical, where I played several background characters. I have met a lot of my friends in these programs. The cast of SpongeBob volunteered at the school food bank after our season was over. I have volunteered every first and third Wednesday since. You see, without Miss Teal, I wouldn't have chorus, I wouldn't have acting, and I never would have known about the amazing opportunity to actually give back to my community. Miss Teal is more than a chorus teacher, and chorus is more than just singing. It's a pipeline to the community involvement and making this community a better place. He says, please don't let Miss Teal go. My daughter, you all probably know, is Cadence Hagan. She is a wrestler. She is an athlete, but she also loves music. At first, she wasn't going to talk tonight, which she got out of, but she couldn't find words to really describe the whole situation and how she feels. I'm so beyond disappointed that this is even a thought. Music has helped many people in more ways than I can express. Although I can't control this, and I may not be able to tell you every way music and other art classes have affected others, I can tell you how it helps me. Music is an escape for me. Sometimes it calms my nerves before each wrestling match, an escape from the stress of school, and it has helped so many people in many different ways. It gives me the confidence to do things like this, speaking in front of people. I'm skipping that part. Which in choir in the middle school, she was going to quit because we were in a different district, but she heard that choir here was better, so she gave it a shot, and she even tried out and made chorale. While I'm not in band, Truck and Miller has always provided a safe space to go during Win and Lunch, and has always cared and always has tried to understand every person in their own way. He wants the best for every individual. Although she has never played a band instrument and probably never will, she has learned so much by just being in the class during the open periods. She says, I would also like to point out that these classes build friendships and lifelong lessons. With my long spent hours in band, Truck has always made sure his students understand that making a mistake is okay and not just to move on. No one can tell when you make a mistake, and this has helped her to understand that making mistakes is a learning opportunity and not something that is life detrimenting. Not sure what you meant there, kid. With friendship part, I've made many friends in these classes. She has a friend in orchestra who's going to be deeply impacted, and she's built friendships with, and her new best friend has also built additional relationships and friendships in these classes. Taking away these resources from students takes away a way to express their feelings. Please take all of this into consideration when you have to make budget cuts today. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll continue on with our meeting. Next item on the agenda is consent agenda. Here's our motion to approve.
I move to accept the consent agenda as written.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda as submitted. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no? The ayes have it. We move on to action item 1, and I believe we turn it over to Julie.
I believe, Levi, you're going to be able to put our presentation up for us. That's not it. There you go. Okay, so before we move to the first action item, we wanted to be able to share some information with all of our community members as well as our board members. So just a reminder that as the board, there is board policy that dictates how boards balance fiscal resources with student needs. They are responsible for managing the school district funds and also for establishing and reviewing financial goals annually. So this is a process that occurs on a regular basis, not just annually, but several times throughout every year. That was the first slide, sorry. You can skip to the next one, thank you. So our fiscal reality as a school district is that we have two important drivers to a school's budget, and they've been mentioned by many of you already this evening. One is student enrollment, and the other being state supplementary assistance. So we have had declining enrollment, steady declining enrollment. In fact, we are down 630 students over the past 25 years. Our declining enrollment since COVID is mainly due to declining birth rates. And we did do a study in 2024 with RSP and Associates, and they are projecting that our enrollment will continue to decline as well. So that is something that as we go through our budgeting process, we need to adjust for as our enrollment decreases.
So as Dr. Treppa mentioned, state supplementary assistance is the primary funding source for public schools in Iowa. Adequate funding is essential for providing a world-class education to all students. This slide illustrates the historical annual increases in per-pupil funding. We are sharing this data to provide context for our current financial decisions. Just as elected officials must balance the state budget, we are responsible for balancing our own budget. Earlier in my career, 4% annual increases were standard. However, the last time schools received a 4% increase was a decade ago. Since 2015, we have received a 3% increase once, and the annual increase is now averaging 2%. When the cost of providing education increases faster than our revenue, we must act with fiscal responsibility to right-size our budget. Okay, you can go on to the next slide, Levi. School finance is an incredibly complicated subject. Tonight is not the night to make you all school finance experts, as much as I would love to do that. There's just a few basic principles that might be helpful for you to know. School districts function with several different funds. You may have picked up a handout, a very colorful handout, when you came in, that has all of those funds listed out. These funds all have different restrictions on how they can be used. The general fund, which is the green section at the top, is the main operating fund. School districts are not able to commingle these funds. A common question we receive, especially lately, is, how can you afford to build a new elementary building, but we can't afford to pay staff? We are not able to use the general fund dollars to pay for building projects or build brand new buildings. Conversely, if you look down in those funds a little bit, we are not able to use construction bond proceeds to pay salaries and benefits to staff. These funds are all separate, and we can't just lump them all together. Next slide, Levi. As we continue to expand on this concept and put data in context, one of the things that has been shared by the media is the statistic that Boone's debt is $25,255 per student. From that, some have made an assumption that the district is in severe financial debt. This statistic relates to long-term debt for infrastructure purposes only. It has no relationship to the general fund operating budget that we are talking about and needing to make reductions in. In 2021, the citizens of Boone Community School District passed a $23 million general obligation bond issue with over 80% approval in order to build our amazing Ledges Elementary School. That debt will be paid off over a 20-year period. Also interesting to note when looking at the statewide average that was reported, which is $10,108. When digging into this data, this includes 55 out of the 325 school districts in Iowa that have no outstanding infrastructure debt. All of the students in those districts are included in the formula, though. 83% of school districts in Iowa have outstanding debt in order to provide the necessary opportunities and facilities for our students. Next slide, Levi. As I stated previously, school finance is complicated, so we are generally speaking in terms of our regular program budget when we get down into it. Funding is generated on a per pupil basis, which creates an overall budget limitation for us, which is called spending authority. In this example, we're going to say we have 2,000 students. The current year funding per student is $7,988. So we roughly have about just under $16 million for a regular program budget. Everything we spend must meet public purpose according to the Iowa Constitution. School districts have much narrower authority than cities and counties. On the back of one of those, that really colorful handout, there's also some additional information that will give you some more key school finance basics and terminology. While not a legal requirement, it is best practice to have fiscal management policies in place, just like balancing your own budget. Our Board of Education has adopted such a policy, and we use key metrics to guide discussions and decision-making based on those metrics. We use 5-year projection models that are continually monitored and updated as data becomes available. And this slide just shows you what some of our key financial metrics are. I think, Julie, are you going to take the next slide?
So where does our general fund money come from? So largely for our district, the general fund dollars come from state aid. So 71% of our general fund comes from state aid, 28% from property taxes, and the other 1% from other, which mainly makes up of federal dollars. So then what can we spend that money on? That's the next slide. So as you can see, our funding pays for largely salaries and benefits. 76% of our general fund budget goes to paying salaries and benefits in our district. You can see also in this slide that there are several mandates that we must also adhere to. Things like minimum teacher salaries, professional development, attendance investments, work-based learning, career tech ed, literacy and math plans, just to name a few. Those all come out of the remaining percentage outside of the 76%.
Okay. So monitoring trends and projections help us make annual adjustments in order to remain within our financial metric guidelines. Ideally, we want to spend current year dollars on current year kids. We don't want to be a bank. Sometimes things happen, though, that are out of our control, like global pandemics. During 21, 22, and 23, as you can see in this chart, all school districts had an infusion of federal pandemic funding. During these years, our revenue exceeded our expenditures. As we are monitoring these, as soon as we see that trend line starting to either veer downward or upward, we have to start making adjustments. Ideally, school districts could manage budget reductions through attrition, but that isn't always the case. Last year, we shared with our staff that the district would be taking measures to significantly reduce expenditures over the next few years because we had come to a point where our revenues were no longer exceeding our expenditures. So unfortunately, attrition isn't an opportunity that we currently have available as these reductions continue to get deeper. So I think Julie's going to share with you now some of the...
So we've made some proactive strategic responses prior to even sharing our concerns with staff with regard to needing to reduce our expenditures to the levels that we have last year and that are being proposed this year. In prior years, we have adjusted the number of sections that we have as our enrollment has declined. So we used to, when I arrived in the district, be at 6 sections at the elementary level in most grade levels. We are now 5 sections in most grade levels. As that occurred, we either attritioned, reassigned, or let those teachers know that those positions would no longer be available so that we could right size for the enrollment that we were experiencing. We also have reduced central office administrative staff and some other positions that we could adjust as those enrollment declines occurred. So as Paulette said, last year, I did go to our staff and share that we needed to start making take some strategic action to reduce our expenditures. On the screen, you can see the 24-25 decisions for fiscal years 26, so that's this year. That's another thing about school finance. We receive our funds based on the number of students. So this year's student count determines our budget for next year, whether the same number of students are here next year or not. So it's always a year, we know in a year in advance what that budget amount will be based upon. So some of the non-staff reductions we made in the previous year for this year, we reduced building budgets. Our annual district-provided ACT testing was eliminated. We eliminated some professional development travel. We reduced overtime. We reduced or eliminated our PLC and mentor teacher stipends. That's part of our teacher, leader, and compensation programming. And we reduced 5 staff positions through a combination of attrition and reassignment. So, unfortunately, we did have to make some staff reductions last year, but we were able to accommodate those through attrition or reassignment. So the next slide. So for this year's development of proposed reductions, the administrative team took many steps to review, analyze, assess, and plan to determine what we were going to put forward to the board as proposed reductions. We continued to take an in-depth review of our line item expenditures. We identified non-personnel reduction areas. We continue to ask staff for their ideas. They always have the best ideas. We examined staffing levels at our grade levels and departments according to enrollment. We evaluated our instructional requirements. We assessed the feasibility of continuing offerings as well as the consequences and implications of reductions, because there are always implications for reductions. And we reviewed programming of similar sized and conference schools. Those are just a few of the steps that we took to try and develop the proposed list of budget reductions. So what are our next steps? We are requesting board approval on the budget reductions in the amount of $665,000 due to the financial necessity of the 26-27 school year. That is one portion of the action item. You'll notice on our agenda there is another action item, and that one will be to review the proposed reductions, request approval to accept those reductions as presented, and then to continue to monitor and make adjustments as needed.
Okay, so we are on the action item, which is consideration and action on budgetary reduction recommendation for the 2026-2027 school year. Is there a motion?
This has been a very difficult situation. It was a real big surprise to hear that some people thought this just happened and the board wasn't involved and didn't know what was coming along for several years. I've been an educator my whole career, have gone through some budget cuts in the past, and got a lot of good information from many of you, and I thanked you personally, but I want to thank you tonight for being here, because if you think this is easy, it is not easy. It is very, very difficult. As a teacher in this district, I negotiated on behalf of teachers for a number of years, and I just want you to realize that we have been working on this for a long time. I know Pat's calling for a motion. Does anybody else want to say anything? Then I'll go ahead and move to recommend approval of a reduction of at least $600,000 in general fund expenditures due to financial necessity.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to reduce our budget reduction by over $600,000. Is there any discussion?
Julie or Paulette, I guess, can you give a little bit of context again? You know, as we talk about what we did last year, we had 6 positions that went away last year, and it was not something we wanted to do, and now we're just to a standpoint today of cutting some of these programs. Can you walk through a couple of these and explain maybe a little bit of how music may look, how PE may look, how art may look, as far as we work to figure out the next steps with this, what that may look like at the middle school or at the high school?
Yes, do you want this during this action item or the next action item when we're talking about the specific recommended budget reductions?
Yes.
This one is just saying we're going to reduce by 600 and some thousand. The next we'll talk about specifics.
Okay, well, I guess
we can still do that. That's fine.
Do it now.
That's fine.
Okay.
So maybe I'll start first with when we get to the second item. The reduction recommendations do not include services for students in the areas of music, theater, speech, Boone TV, art, or PE. They do call for staff reductions, not necessarily student services reductions. So I will actually ask if Jill would be willing to share, especially around music, PE, and art. Go ahead and pull up the reduction list, I guess. And start down at PE, art, and music so that people can follow along with what we're sharing.
Am I on? Oh, I am. So, as Julie and Paulette spoke to, we have reduced some sections over the last several years in our elementary, and so the need for the number of minutes to serve PE, music, and art at that level is less than it was when we had more sections. You know, when a classroom goes down the hall, they usually go by class to those special areas. So when we look at the time across the day, there are a number of things that we have individuals serving in our elementary buildings to help support all of our structures and social emotional supports for kids and win time and interventions, but the actual number of minutes that we need for PE, art, and music is less than a full-time position at each of our elementary buildings. The configuration of our buildings makes that complicated, and so having a full-time staff person dedicated in those buildings is fabulous, but when we look at the number of minutes that we need to serve, we can continue doing that. Not quite with one person, but close. So then we look at our enrollment in our high school classes in art and our high school classes and secondary classes in music and PE to say, is there a way we could get kind of creative so that we could serve those and keep the same courses, but maybe instead of having something offered both first and second semester in art per se, it's only offered first semester. And so students can choose to take it first semester or they'll take it the following year, that kind of thing. So we want to be able to communicate to our students so they can plan with their registration. But as far as what we can offer for courses, we feel like the numbers might get tighter. The class sizes might get a little bit bigger like they do when we reduce an elementary section, but we can continue to offer the same courses, just maybe offered a little bit differently for kids. Does that answer that?
I guess I have one more in this one before we get into depth. That $600,000 number that we're talking about tonight, what is the likelihood of that number next year? And then where we see that in a 5-year projection? So obviously tonight we're talking about $600 and some thousand of reductions. Is this a conversation that's going to take place again next year in a similar value if enrollment pieces stay the same?
That's a really great question. If everything stayed exactly the same, nothing changed at all, I don't even know how to say it. So Yeah, it's similar, slightly less, but similar in our challenges for next year.
Any other discussion?
I will just reiterate, this first vote is not approving the list that's behind you. It is solely to approve the amount that you're looking to reduce our expenditures for fiscal year 27.
Proceed to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no? The ayes have it. Second budget item here then is consideration and action on staff reduction and programming proposal.
Okay, I'm going to do my best to try and provide the rationale that our administrative team has in making these recommendations. And so I'm going to start with the most difficult because I believe in eating my frog first. For years, we have been proud to be the only school in our conference to offer orchestra. We have prioritized this program even as the majority of Iowa schools our size and many larger have moved away from it. With continued instrumental music programs at the secondary level, Boone CSD will have musical opportunities comparable to districts of our size. I do need to share that this particular area is near and dear to my heart personally. And this is one of the most difficult decisions I've had to make in my career in making this recommendation. However, we have reached a point where declining enrollment and revenue mean we can no longer maintain this specialized offering without compromising the core programs required by law. For teacher leadership, we are hoping to attrition a position due to a retirement in this area next year. Family and consumer science. Middle school family and consumer science is no longer required at the middle school level. We will maintain our current offerings at the high school level. In the area of business, we will maintain our course offerings in general business and information and solutions, including Boone TV. We are recommending a reduction of one staff member and will make scheduling changes in order to continue offering these courses. As Jill shared with art, music, and PE, we have reduced the number of elementary classroom sections to correlate with the reduced enrollment over time. However, we have not reduced our staffing in these departments to correlate with the current enrollment at the elementary level. Our recommendation is to reduce by one staff member in each of these departments. Athletics. We are recommending reductions in athletics by recommending our athletic director evaluate and adjust staffing accordingly. Administrative reductions. Many districts our size have up to 2 more administrators than we do here in Boone. One area that many districts invest in is a director of communications. Additionally, they will enter into an administrative contract for communications as well. At Boone, we entered into an administrative services contract with Donovan Group in lieu of hiring a director of communications, as we could benefit from such services at 1/3 the cost of hiring a director of communications. We are recommending the elimination of this contract. We are also recommending the elimination of the beginning of the year speaker, continuing to limit administrative training to in-state opportunities with limited travel expenses as we have this year. We are also exploring additional operational sharing opportunities to share eligible positions with other districts. In the area of support staff, we are recommending the reduction of one staff member as we will realign services to allow for this reduction. We will change our maintenance cycle to replace filters every 4 months instead of every 3 months, and we are recommending we reduce the number of days support staff report on non-student days. Some miscellaneous items that we have been doing and will continue to do. Items, when a staff member departs the district, we will continue to consider absorbing their duties in lieu of rehiring wherever possible. Please keep in mind that there will be positions that we will need to replace, however. We will continue to seek our energy efficiencies and continue to reduce energy consumption. We will continue to find ways to reduce the cost of supplies and materials purchased, such as seeking the lowest price for the same items, ensuring delivery costs do not exceed a certain percentage of the cost of that item, items such as those. Something that I think we also should be investigating for the fiscal year 28, so that would be school year 2027 and 2028. I believe now is the time for us to explore whether we would be able to save money and have a potential reduction in expenditures in transportation if we followed the state transportation model versus our current shuttle model. Again, we have not determined what that savings would be, but I think it would be prudent to explore that possibility in looking forward to future potential reductions.
Thank you, Julie. Is there a motion to recommend approval of the budget reduction?
I move to accept the consideration and action on staff reduction and programming proposal for the 26-27 school year.
Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the budget reduction proposal for the 26-27 school year as presented. Any discussion, please?
The thought that there would be no music, art, and PE at some places was one of those pieces of misinformation. The orchestra has a long history in my family. My daughter said, "Please, Mom, don't cuss or cry tonight." Well, the cussing part isn't a problem. The crying part is the problem. It would be much sadder if we didn't have such a tremendously strong, viable band program. And I still think we've got excellent staff to provide music and art and PE in all buildings. I really, feel like so many things are out of control for the board, for our administrators who work so many hours on this for over 2 years. I looked up our utility bill for the month of January. It was $69,476.97. Now, if we end up having wonderful weather, that would be very helpful. But those are things out of our control. I won't keep rolling on, but I do want to reassure you, we do care a great deal. We really, really do.
I think just a comment from my perspective of, I was appointed to the board in late 2020, and then ran after that. And I think almost from day one we've talked about different budget cuts that have taken place across the district. It doesn't make this decision any easier by any means. I guess, when we talk through some of this, obviously this passionate community with some of these programs that we're talking about cutting today, nobody woke up today or 3 years ago or 5 years ago and said, I want to eliminate 8 positions across the district. That's nobody's hope. I sit up here making a decision for 8 staff members that are not going to have a job in Boone Community School District next year, potentially. As far as there's a lot of buzz that can take place, it's a blessing and a curse with the social media standpoint that comes into play. I think it's a great way to communicate. It can throw a lot of pieces out there that are maybe not as accurate in total. This is me rambling, but it's not that we're caring less about the arts versus sports. When we came down to look at this, and I'm going to put, Paulette and Julie on the spot here just a little bit. Take a golf coach or a volleyball coach. What is a salary standpoint to be a coach over an orchestra salary?
So Paulette has specific numbers, but I can share with you those are stipends versus a teaching contract, so that's the main difference. So stipends range depending on the area that they are coaching, so I'm not sure. Anywhere from $2,000 to $8,000.
Okay, so as we talked as a board and been talking about as a board for the last handful of years, how to be the most impactful on our budget standpoint with the least impact to our district. And as we talk about orchestra, and I hate to say that's part of this discussion tonight, but you would have to cut 8 to 10 other programs on a sports standpoint to equate the one standpoint of orchestra. I'm not saying that's a better standpoint. I'm not saying that's better way to spend money, but as we look for the best way to impact our budget, we had to look to this list, and this is where this list came into play today. So I think you can point the finger at the state, you can point the finger at the board up here on where we've been at. The hands we're in today are where we're at, and that's what makes these tough decisions. Again, I'm not saying anything that hasn't already been talked about. I just can say this is not something that we wanted to do, but it's something we had to do to right the ship and to square things back where we're at. I think every staff member across our district would probably say they have not had increases in wages that they would have liked to see over the last years. It's not that we've seen 10 and 15 and 20% raises for our staff members across. I think last year we settled on right around a 2.5%. So obviously inflation was significantly higher than that, but I guess that's just my comments to this. I feel terrible we're having to make these decisions today, but this is where we're at as of today.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. Please use your microphone if you can. All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. I think at this point we're going to take about a 10-minute break, 15-minute break, and then we will come back and complete business. Thank you. We are going to reconvene in another 2 minutes. If casual conversation will please move out to the hall. Casual conversation, please move out to the hall. We're going to reconvene in about 2 minutes.
Tim, can you go sit by your colleagues so you're near a microphone?
Okay, back to our agenda. The next item on the agenda is the 26-27 Dropout Prevention Plan.
Which one of us is going to speak to that?
I can speak to that.
Okay, thank you, Cindy.
Sure. All right, each school year by January 15th, I think, is our dates. So we like to cut things just a little bit close and make sure we have everything in line. So here on January 12th, we have to present to you our at-risk dropout plan. This is well-timed as we talk about buckets of funds. This is a bucket of funds that we have access to, but we have to validate with a plan of how we are going to spend it. In this plan, you will see things like how we identify students. We use state definitions to identify students as at risk. Some examples of those you will see at the top is students who need additional support in social emotional, dropout prevention, career vocational skills, dropouts or returning dropouts or potential dropouts. Those are some of the vocabulary that fall under this definition from the state. What we've done is we've put together our plan of how we will spend the money that we apply for from the state. In this plan includes, at the elementary level, a behavior coach, Character Strong all throughout the district, which provides social emotional support resources for our staff to give instruction to our students. We also use at the secondary level in middle school and high school, we have what's called TLC at the middle school and a Success Center at the high school where we support our students with academic intervention as well as social emotional support and attendance supports. There's also funding that comes directly from here to support our counseling team at each school building level as they support our students in getting to school and, of course, again, their social emotional skills that they are working to build. So we put together this plan and apply for this in hopes of getting this money from the state, and then it's up to us to spend the money on these specific allocated resources for the next fiscal year, so fiscal year 27. Paulette, is there anything else to add from a funding standpoint? Perfect. Any questions you have for me this evening?
How much has this changed from last year as far as the students count, do you know?
From last year, as far as the student count, I'm sorry, I don't have that last year's number with me. I can tell you this year's number. Oh, I see Paulette giving me it went up a little from last year. This year's number, overall, 705 students across the district were identified as at-risk students. And so she says it went up a little. Do you know that number from last year right off the top of your head?
It was 400 and something.
400 and something last year. Okay. Mm-hmm. You're welcome.
May I ask, what are things that are causing this? It's like, this seems like a huge jump.
A big increase, you know, and it could have been it could have been as simple as we are identifying better through our early warning systems in buildings. And when I say early warning systems, those are those screenings that we do, such as FAST, or in the future at the secondary level we'll have STAR assessments. We could be doing a better job of tracking that. We've also added the behavior coach position in the past couple of years, and that at the elementary level, and that has probably helped us document and track some of that information better. So where it could be that we have more students coming in with needs and at-risk potential, it could also be that we simply are doing a better job with the systems that we have in place in identifying them. I'll give the principals an opportunity if you guys have something you want to add to that. Don't feel like you need to.
Yeah, I'll just say we're given I don't need no help. We're given certain indicators, whether it's you do need a mic, please. Yeah. It's being broadcast. You can't hear me? You need a mic, it's being broadcast.
Got it.
It's accessibility. We're in school. The at-risk program money is we use indicators for if students are failing grades, or if their attendance, if they're chronically absent, or if they're not involved in activities. That's how we label students. So I think Cindy's right. I think we do a better job of counting each year.
And something that John reminded me of there, I think a great point you brought up, John, was with the attendance piece. By law, we had to track more deeply our attendance concerns and report them the past couple of years. So with legislation that came through in the spring of 2024, then we had to, that next school year, and now continuing this school year, we had to track and report those students who were struggling to meet attendance requirements set by the state. And so all of that probably led us to identifying better than we were previously.
It just seems like a huge jump if you've been tracking for a couple of years. So to me, that feels difficult to understand how, if you've been tracking better for a couple of years, how in 1 year it's just such a big jump. It just seems extraordinarily large.
Yes. No, that's a good point. And I think it would be good hearing you say that, and with that question tonight, what I can do too is maybe gather a little information of the trends over time, and to be able to provide all of you a little more information on that. Absolutely. Thank you. Other questions?
Is there a motion?
Move to approve the at-risk dropout prevention plan as presented.
Is there a second?
I second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the dropout prevention plan as presented. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes have it. And we go on to the request for modified supplemental amount for dropout prevention and at-risk.
So as Cindy alluded to, this is a different bucket of money, and so we are required to also ask for the amount that we feel is necessary to help meet the needs of our students in our district. So on the document, you can see that our requested modified supplemental amount would be $682,000. The maximum modified supplemental amount possible is $798,640. So we are asking for $682,000 of that to meet our at-risk plan.
And this is asking for the authority. This doesn't have the cash that comes with it. It's the authority.
Thank you.
Is there a motion?
I move forward.
Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the request for the modified supplemental amount for 26-27 in the amount of $682,000. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. We're on to discussion items, and this is the 26-27 school year calendar draft proposal.
So we have several options that we're going to present to you this evening. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Jill James.
Okay, can you do draft 1, Levi? We bring you several drafts usually at this stage, and then you'll set your calendar hearing, and we'll recommend one at the next meeting. But typically we like to bring 2. We bring 3, and I'll explain why. Draft 1 is really similar to this particular school year's calendar. I think, Levi, if you scroll to the bottom of that one, it has us out at a June date. I think this is the June release. So it's really similar. This school year is that we're currently in is the year that we don't have those early releases, the wacky Wednesdays we affectionately called them, and we've got more of those Mondays for professional learning. So this calendar mirrors that. Given the way the holidays and different things fall, we were able to get a third built-in snow day in there. This current school year we have 2, and so it's very closely aligned. The only thing that's different in this one is moving some of the professional development dates that were scheduled before parent conferences. We had put them in there so teachers would have a chance to prep for parent conferences. We found they were the same week as conferences, and at that point report cards and grades were already kind of done. The timing on where we had placed them this year wasn't quite right, so feedback from some staff was to move that up. And then the other feedback that we've received from teachers and staff members is that when we last school year had parent conferences before Thanksgiving on a back-to-back date, the way that the flow of that worked really well from a standpoint of you had a late night of parent conferences, you had a partial day with kids, and then you had conferences again back-to-back versus the way it is this year, and oftentimes it's a Tuesday, Thursday, and when we do that, Tuesday night's late, it's a full day of school on Wednesday with kids, then it's another partial day, and then another late night, and that just gets to be a really trying week for our staff, so they've requested we investigate trying to have those back-to-back. That does put it as a Wednesday evening for conference, and typically we try to stay away from Wednesday activities for families that have that conflict in the community. We talked about that with our SIAC committee, and their feedback was if you have something on a Wednesday, as long as there is another evening, and it's not only on the Wednesday, that was something to explore. So we bring that to you here in this calendar that's a lot like the current year. Draft 2, I'll let Levi go to draft 2. Draft 2 is really, really similar. The only difference here is that draft 2 has the end of school prior to Memorial Day. Some feedback from our SIAC committee was, is there a way to not go into June? What would that look like? So it tightens it up a little bit throughout the calendar. The Wednesday before Thanksgiving is a school day, not a day off. And I feel like there's one other change. There's one less built-in snow day, and maybe one other thing that's a little bit different in that one, to just have it end a little bit earlier based on that feedback from our SIAC committee. I think the way the school year has worked with those Mondays off has been pretty positively received by our staff, but draft 3 is a proposal that goes back to having early release time built in, and the reason we drafted this calendar. It's just in response to the discussion we've already had this evening about some maybe changes in our staffing for those specials of art, music, PE at elementary. When we have our specials right now, that's collaborative time when our grade level teams are able to meet collaboratively and review student data, plan for upcoming units and assessments and so on. And so as we move forward now after this evening and thinking about what that scheduling looks like in our buildings, we will really want to prioritize that collaboration time happening during the day. Right now, elementary teams are able to meet 2 times a week for an hour during the school day, and that time is very valuable for student learning, but we just need to spend some more time looking really closely at our staffing schedules to see if we can still make that happen if we are sharing across buildings. So if we aren't able to make that happen, then we do really value that collaborative time and feel like a week, at least weekly, being able to have that. It would be a little bit of reduction for our staff, but in the amount of collaboration time they have, but at least weekly, having that in there, where if we just had once a month full day professional development time, teachers and teams wouldn't be able to be as responsive to their student data in those meetings. And so this calendar proposes doing a 90-minute release once a week so that we could build in weekly collaboration time for our teachers. Again, whether we recommend this one or one of the full day ones kind of depends on what we can work out with our schedules as we move forward after this evening. But these are the 3 drafts and the rationale behind them.
Are there any questions for Jill?
What was the staff's preferred one, or the SIAC committee's preferred one?
Well, SIAC committee didn't see draft 3. When they met in December, we hadn't gotten to the point where we may need to investigate that kind of a schedule. So after this evening, before that calendar hearing, getting some feedback from staff and some other community members is definitely something we would do before we come back with a recommendation to you.
So we actually, because the hearing needs to take place as a result of our proposed calendar, our hearing will actually take place in March.
Okay.
So we will provide a calendar recommendation at the February meeting, so this gives us time between now and then. But if you had feedback and suggestions to us now, we would love to hear those as we go back to determine the recommendation that we would bring in February for a public hearing in March.
Did you say you're giving time for community feedback to this calendar?
We usually take it to our SIAC committee.
Say that again.
We usually use our SIAC committee for that, and they'll meet again before we bring that back.
Which is made up of community members, parents, staff,
Thank
across
you.
the board.
Yeah,
Sorry,
it's School Improvement Advisory Council is what it stands for. So yeah, it includes community members, staff, a wide variety of representatives.
But then we have to, next month we'll set a public hearing so the community can participate during that public hearing.
Just had a question on the 90 minutes that you're built in weekly. Is that, are we bringing someone in to help with the teachers with their in-service there, or is that going to be done with the teacher leads and instructor leads?
Great question. So those 90-minute days would be time set aside for our teacher teams to meet collaboratively like they do right now during the school day. They have maybe a lead teacher or an instructional coach that helps to facilitate their collaboration meetings. They set those agendas. It's a pretty well-oiled machine, so we think it's really important to make sure we can still provide time for that, and that's what those Fridays would be. There are less of the full-day professional development days in this draft 3 calendar because more hours than are set aside for that collaboration time, but those full days would be times that perhaps we'd have a facilitator or instructional coaches or folks within district facilitating professional learning. The 90 minutes would be for more of that collab team time.
Just comment on my perspective of, it would be interesting to see on the feedback was with the going past Memorial. I know we talked last year on, it's always a date we try to not to go past, but it was, why we did it, it was just because, right? Like there wasn't a whole lot behind that. So my only, were you going to say something else? Sorry. My only other comment would be the 3rd draft. I have a little hesitancy as we just kind of changed schedules for daycare, lower elementary standpoint by making this change this year to not have some of those early releases that I don't want to get back in this every other year cadence. I'm not saying that's the standpoint, but that would be my biggest concern probably is maybe not as you get to the middle school and high school standpoint, but elementary finding daycare and things like that, so.
Our preference would be to not need that calendar.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Next is board policy, second reading of board policies.
So I would like to direct your attention actually to the nepotism policy that we have already had a first reading on. I have Tim Pizzetti here to share of a situation that has come up that we think we should discuss as you're examining the second reading of the nepotism policy. I would point out that our nepotism policy currently does have an exception in the policy, but the exception is for those situations where the individuals involved maybe are already in a situation where they're both coaching together and it's then discovered by the district, so then it's up to the board to determine whether that could continue. I will let Tim share some occurrences that have occurred in other districts as well as ours at times that we might want to explore a different type of exception. So I just would like him to share that, and then I can share some thoughts as well.
Okay, I believe as our policy stands right now, it's more along the line of when there is a relationship maybe that happens after the fact, not so much. Right now, we have an opening for middle school basketball that I cannot fill because the one applicant that I have for that position is related to the person who is in the head coaching position. So the assistant position cannot be filled by a family member at this point. So it would be my hope that we could make an exception in that type of situation. Coaching is not a full salary. It's a seasonal job at the middle school level especially, in hopes that we could maybe, if we have the best applicant, even though they may be related to the person who is also coaching, that there could be an exception for that if the need for that particular position outweighs any potential conflict that we may have. I've been in districts before where we have had father and son, brothers, mothers and daughters coaching together with no issues. In that situation, those have mostly been middle school positions, not all of them, but ultimately the head coach, the varsity coach, evaluates the assistants all the way down to the head and assistant in the middle school position, and then signed off by myself. So really the head coach at the middle school position is not evaluating that assistant.
They currently provide input into that evaluation, but don't
Absolutely.
actually complete that evaluation.
Right.
So in Tim sharing this with me, some potential language that was suggested was having exceptions for coaches be considered on a case-by-case basis when the need for the position outweighs the potential for conflict of interest, and that we would implement a plan to reassign the evaluation and disciplinary oversight of the employee to a non-relative supervisor. So that it would be the proposal to add to the exception language that's currently in policy, or you could continue, with the policy recommendations from the first reading, but wanted to make sure you were aware of the need that Tim was seeing in our current situation.
Certainly if we had tons of people lined up to come coach middle school sports, this wouldn't be a problem, but we don't, unfortunately.
Is there a motion?
I move on the second reading of the board policies.
Does that include the additional change that they were recommending, or
Yes.
as presented?
As presented.
Tonight, as presented tonight. Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the policy with the exceptions that were discussed tonight and the other changes that were previously noted in our first reading. Is there any discussion?
So just so I make sure I'm on the same page here, of that policy, we're looking at taking out a couple of those standpoints, or we're looking at leaving them in and just making a voted on exception if we do get that position?
So for the nepotism policy, the recommendation that you're hearing is that the aunt and uncle would be removed as it was in the first reading, with the addition of an exception made for coaches on a case-by-case basis when the need for the position outweighs the conflict, and that the plan would then include reassignment of the evaluation and disciplinary oversight to a non-relative supervisor.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
Thank you.
Okay. We are on to the superintendent's report.
We have some meetings that are coming up that we might need to adjust some time. So we have a board work session scheduled for, do you remember the February? No. What was the date, Pat, that was going to be a conflict? Do you remember? Just a moment while we go to that list that we have that was approved. But I do know of the other conflict that I am concerned about, and that is our February meeting on that Monday is the Monday following the birth of my first grandchild. And I planned to be with that grandchild, so I wondered how you wanted to proceed with that conflict that I would have. If you would like to move the meeting so I can be in attendance, or if you wish to proceed without me. So that's what I would like to discuss on the next regular February meeting.
Well, fantastic news for you. Kid has a baseball game that night, or a basketball game, excuse me. So if we moved it, it wouldn't break my heart as long as it worked for everybody else. So I could attend that.
Yeah, my husband has a doctor's appointment February 9th. But I mean, it's important.
Do you suggest changing it to?
What does your Tuesday nights look like?
It is open on the 10th.
When would you be back in town?
So we are currently scheduled to have the meeting on February 9th. So I would propose the 16th, but, you won't be able to do that. Never mind. Maybe
Is the 10th out for you?
Hmm?
Is the next night out for you, February 10th?
I'll be out of town. I would be probably able to do virtual. So that would maybe be an alternative, because the following week, Paulette would not be available as our board secretary. So maybe we come with a potential for a virtual meeting option for me.
Are you gone for that whole week then, the 9th through the 13th? Okay.
That would be the plan.
Is there anything wrong with not having the meeting early, like on the 2nd?
Our problem with the 2nd is having enough time to do the financial reports for you. Mm-hmm.
And we're scheduled to have our audit.
And we're scheduled to have the audit on the 9th. So
What's everyone's schedule?
Maybe I just joined from
the 17th.
Virtual. I think Paulette's out that whole week of the 16th, I believe. Mm-hmm.
So if we just leave it and allow the
We'll
virtual
leave it.
opportunity,
I'll join
and
virtually.
you can just listen, does that interfere with your? Because if not,
Virtually, she won't have to just listen. She'll be able to talk.
I want to put that on you though too. We can move this date, so you tell
We'll
me a date.
proceed.
Go to the 23rd meeting.
Or we go all the way to the end of the month, so I don't know if we want to wait that long. The 23rd. Does the 23rd work? Yeah, it's a home game.
Then it'll only be 2 weeks until the next board meeting. Which is fine. Is our motion? Or do we need to just agree?
We just need to, come to consensus on a date.
Could you do virtual on the 10th?
I will do my best. I'll be out of town. My daughter lives in Minnesota, so as long as there's reception, I'm good.
Leave it at the 9th. Oh, then leave it at the 9th, okay. She's gonna do virtual. Oh, okay, let's just do that.
Okay. A virtual meeting.
Okay, we'll keep it
For
on the
me
9th.
only.
Virtual meeting for you.
Okay,
Not
virtual
for the
meeting
rest
for
of
me.
us. We will
Okay.
be here.
That's great. Did we happen to find the
Did you find
next
the
board
work session date?
It's the 26th of January.
The 26th of January is our next board work session that's scheduled, but I believe Pat
I will not be here, but you can still
unavailable.
meet without me if you would like to.
What time is that then? 6 o'clock. That was at 5, right?
I believe it's at 5 for the 26th.
And I could join by phone.
You could. Okay, so we're going to keep the dates. Those of us unable to attend in person will join virtually. Is that consensus? I'm looking for validation.
Yes. Do I need to make a motion? Move?
Don't need to.
Okay.
That's all I
Okay,
have.
that's all on that agenda. Any other announcements or anything else you want to mention?
And we're just next to the closed work session. We'll
Okay, we are
relocate.
going to a closed work session. We're going back to the boardroom for that, so we will close up for now and reconvene for a closed work session. Thank you, everybody who came.